Jeff Crow. Jeff, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Bart. Thank you.
Good to see you. Usually Jeff's with us during construction season, although I think it might be warm enough later this week to do some construction. Nothing's really happening.
We're not too busy. We're focused in planning, but we do have a couple excavations open right now as part of our lead service replacement program. That was going on all last year. Speaking of last year, we did a heck of a lot of work. We saw a lot of orange barrels, probably as many orange barrels as we've seen in years and years. So I love to recap it on this show, tell you what we got going ahead too as well.
Yeah, so I think one of the big projects that impacted the community was the Martin Luther King Jr. complete rebuild.
Yes, yeah, that was a complete street reconstruction, reconfiguration project where we essentially repaved Martin Luther King Jr. Drive beginning at Morrell Street and extending 1/2 mile south down to High Street. Now, with that reconstruction came new water main pipe, new sewers. We added a 10-foot wide concrete path to the west side of the street for our pedestrians. And in a couple of months from now, as soon as we get good weather, we're going to continue on with that project. We're going to extend from High Street, go another 1/2 mile south down to South Street and perform the same operation. So if you want a preview of what's to come and what it's going to look like, I encourage you to drive down the recently completed work from Morrell to High Street. It's going to be pretty cookie cutter and transparent as we go through.
Wow, it goes all the way to South Street.
Yes, it will.
Nice. And that will probably take, like the previous version, a whole summer.
Yeah, we got a lot of sewer work, water transmission main work, and the reality is last year, yes, we did a lot of bridges, a lot of signals, a lot of sidewalk, a lot of streets, but water distribution main work was our bread and butter last year. Most of our effort went to that, and we have about 170 miles of water main pipe. There's more pipe in the ground than actual street pavement miles in our city. And it serves not only us, but Leone, Blackman, Summit Township. So we really need to take care of our water main infrastructure.
Yeah, actually, do we have water going all the way to Napoleon yet?
Not yet. We did a cost estimate. It's north of 20 million is what we're looking at.
Wow.
So save your piggy bank, we'll say. So
a lot of the work that was done around where some of the bridges were being reconstructed, that was water work, like around the train station, that area.
Yep, we installed some new water transmission main pipe, and not just one pipe, about 2 miles of water transmission main pipe. We're talking the 16 to 30 inch, those large sections. We installed that pipe through the Cooper Street Bridge, in our hospital district, on Pearl Street, on Waterloo, on East Avenue. We also extended downward into our industrial area on Hupp Avenue, extended that water transmission main down all the way south to Morrell and terminated at the intersection of Morrell and Elm. Whole 2 miles of water transmission main went in last year.
We shadowed some of your crew on Chittick Street, and what's going on over there? Because that's one of your open holes right now.
Yeah,
right?
That's one of our very few open excavation work, and this is actually a part of a much bigger program where we're in a boxed area bounded by West Avenue to the west, Michigan Avenue to the north, MLK Junior Drive to the east, and Audubon and Prospect to the south. What we're doing is we are replacing the lead service lines with new copper water service lines. The reality is we got about 1,200 active service lines in that boxed area that I just mentioned. So we have to work throughout all winter, and we're doing cold weather practice as we do it. And we just go from there, digging excavations, talking with the homeowners, scheduling appointments based on their schedule, and going street by street throughout the year. This program, it really isn't going anywhere. Although that we are in the boxed area, as I mentioned, we have about 10,000 active lines in our city, and most of those are lead lines. So we will be continuing this program for years, and as we go on until all those lines are disconnected and new copper service lines are installed. One
thing I think people have been wondering, because on West Avenue it was very apparent where that was happening, because the street had to get torn up.
Yes, yeah.
So is that going to be the case with every street that ends up where you're doing the lead line replacements?
If we do have to replace the section that goes from the water main in the street to the curb stop in the sidewalk, and that portion is lead, we do got to replace that with a new copper pipe. Now, I'm not talking trench it all the way from the curb stop near the sidewalk to the street. What we use is a directional drilling method so we can go under, but we do have to dig up the water main so we can connect the new copper service line to the water main in the street. Now, with that said, what we are doing is we are focusing on local streets so we have less detour impacts, and we're also focusing on roads that aren't that great to begin with. Streets that are poor, highly fatigued, cracked with multiple transverse cracks. We're looking at those streets with high density areas of lead service line. What we're looking at is more bang for the buck with least disturbance as possible.
Well, we have this new copper that's going from the water main in the middle of the street to a house.
Yes.
Is the copper, what else does it do besides remove the lead? Is there any added benefit? Does it increase water pressure? Does the quality of the water improve? Anything like that?
No, not necessarily. Now, if you were on a 3/4 or anything less as far as a diameter size service line, we are going to upsize you to a new 1-inch service line. That's just today's standard. So if you were on a 3/4 and we are upsizing you to a 1-inch, yes, you will see a little improvement in water pressure, but just a little as far as that goes. Now, as far as the copper line, it's just a known material with known corrosion resistance to water and the chemicals that are in water, and it's a known safe material that we want to use.
And people might wonder, well, lead lines, does that mean we're getting lead? Is lead leaching from the existing lines into the water?
Sure. There's no data that I've seen that shows that. The reality is when you have a lead line in the ground, there's a thin film that already generates inside of that line. So when a water particle goes from the main to your faucet, essentially it travels through the film, not necessarily through the lead, and it's not really touching the lead in that instance.
Downtown, we're going to be seeing that right here in this building. They've contacted us, and I guess at some point in the future, it hasn't been scheduled, but when that does happen to a resident or a business, it's going to happen like tomorrow, as fast as tomorrow, isn't it?
Well, we do accommodate your schedule as far as the timing on when to come in. However, as far as the work performed, it's really just a 4-hour process. So we install a line in the ground. We keep your water connected during that time until we're ready to disconnect that lead line and connect the copper line back into it.
It's like the cable guy coming. It's in and out.
Yep, that's the idea, especially with this many lead lines.
Other than the other half of the MLK Drive this coming construction season, what else is on your schedule?
Yeah, I mean, as far as street construction goes, we are looking at Ganson Street, resurfacing Ganson from Elm Avenue, extended east about a half mile, which is to our city limits. So about 6 to 7 blocks there. We're looking to do that in about, August, I would say. But before then, we're going to have to replace those lead lines on Ganson Street so we don't trench up that road in the near future.
So you get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone by doing it in that order.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, how much time do we got? I got many projects to talk about.
All right, give us a couple more big
Sure.
ones.
Well, we had a lot of intersections that we did last year. We installed new mast arm signals at Lansing and Monroe, Jackson and Ganson, Morel at Brown, and Morel at Wisner. We ran out of time to work on Lansing and North, so that one's going to be the next on our list here in a couple of months here. We'll have some new strain poles there too as well.
Yeah, we're seeing new traffic patterns at Lansing and North. You've reduced the lanes from, in some cases, 2 to 1, and I think you've made it less confusing, but there's still more work that needs to be done, and that's signage.
Yes, that is correct. So the idea is, the idea is safety. And when I think safety, I'm thinking of an out-of-towner who hasn't seen that intersection before and has only a few seconds to react and make that left turn. And so just like Lansing and North and Lansing and Monroe, Lansing and Clinton Hill is a prime example of just such an abnormal intersection that we really just got to shrink some areas down, add a pedestrian island. It may look a little convoluted at first just because we're not used to it. But the idea is the out-of-towner, what they see and how they would react to such an intersection. Safety is the name of the game there.
And I think that whole area that was the city hoped to do even more work on that, but the neighbors, the residents, weren't interested in the assessment, taking the hit on the assessment.
Yeah.
So that's is just been
Correct. So what we can't do is reconstruct the street, but what we can do is we can reconfigure the street in a manner with pavement markings, with new configuration of signage and signals, just not touch the street.
And I know DPW is more concerned about this than engineering, but this freezing, rain, that's got to be murder on the streets.
Not
right
just
now.
us, but everywhere in Michigan.
Yeah.
It's that we're in a particular latitude and longitude that really just that freeze thaw just wreaks havoc on our streets. So we try to do what we can, and we design for that too as well by adding crack sealing, preventative maintenance too every couple of years to make sure those cracks don't propagate and turn into a pothole.
Is there any of the trail, the non-motorized trail system slated for work this year?
Well, we actually did. So we completed our stretch, which I'm glad you brought that up. So Weatherwax Drive all the way up to Merriman Street, that whole 3-mile MLK Equality Trail is now complete. That whole trail is now the 10 to 12 foot wide concrete path. We also last year added a connector to that MLK Equality Trail on West-South Street from 1st Street to Jackson Street. What that does is that connects the MLK Equality Trail to the Elmdale Trail to the east. So that connects to the L Sharp Park. Overall, we're looking at a long-term goal to make our complete street mentality revitalized and make Jackson a walkable community again.
Great. Thanks for the update. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
The Assistant City Engineer at the City of Jackson, Jeff Crow.